Hey Rockers fans, Brittany Baldi here, and I am sitting next to the Knuckleballer for the Highpoint Rockers. We have Mr. Mickey Jannis. How are you? Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
And I want to talk all about the knuckleball. I don't know that much about it, but I do know it's pretty hard to hit. So, from a hitter's perspective, what makes hitting a knuckleball so difficult?
One, it's slower than a fastball, and then the unpredictability of the movement. That's the whole point behind it, is just throwing it up there, and I don't really know how it's going to move. The hitter doesn't know how it's going to move. The catcher doesn't know how it's going to move. And just the unpredictability of it just makes it so much more difficult.
So when you say, even when you're throwing the ball, you don't even know what the movement is going to do. That's kind of like scary to hear that, but you know it's going to be a good pitch.
I mean, I've thrown it so much, I have an idea of where I want to throw it in the zone, but again, the pitch, because it has no spin, the movement just kind of has a mind of its own, is what I always tell people, and it's going to do whatever. I know I'm trying to throw it to certain locations at different points in the at-bat, so I have an idea of like what I want to do with it, where I want to throw it, the speed I want to throw it at. So obviously I have more of an idea than anybody else, but yeah, just the whole unpredictability of it, and it's got a mind of its own.
So how did that pitch become your signature pitch?
I just kind of started throwing it when I was a kid. I saw specialists in Wakefield, and I used to throw it with 3 fingers, and then I switched down to 2 fingers on the knuckleball, and just went out the next day and threw it as hard as I can, and it was nasty. So I kind of stuck with it through high school and college and growing up, and always kind of had it in my back pocket. I was drafted as a conventional pitcher, sinker, slider, changeup, and got released by the Rays, and I just kind of looked at it as a rejuvenation of my career of going to independent ball and trying to get picked back up, doing something that nobody else really does anymore. So I just kind of stuck with it and developed it along the way.
So I have to ask this question. Obviously you're a pitcher, so you don't really have to hit that much or at all anymore playing professionally. But back in the day in college, were you ever able to hit a knuckleball yourself? I had to ask that question.
Yeah, I have never faced one, no. I think it would be very cool. I always enjoy playing catch with other people who have thrown a knuckleball, because I've never seen it from a different point of view. Like, I always see it from this end, and really for me it's hard to see how the ball actually moves. So when other people are able to throw like a good one to me, or seeing another pitcher that throws one, it's pretty cool.
And we'll kind of wrap up the knuckleball talk. In a little bit I'm going to actually have you show me how to place my hands properly, even though I'm probably not going to do it correctly, but I'm interested to see how exactly the hand placement is done. But with that being said, your name is Mickey. Is that your legal name or a nickname?
That is my legal name, yeah.
And your last name, Jannis, what is the origin of that?
It's Greek. It was actually changed when my great-grandparents, I believe, came over from Greece. It used to be Janitopoulos. So when I say that, everybody's like, oh yeah, that's definitely Greek. But yeah, so it's Greek heritage.
Okay, so Greek heritage. I believe you're from Nevada, so we'll talk about that soon. Okay. But with the Greek heritage, are there any signature dishes that whenever you go back home, or maybe your wife might make for you, that is a Greek signature dish?
Spinach pie growing up, or spanakopita, as the Greeks call it. So that was always a favorite dish of mine growing up.
Nice. And as far as the fact that you grew up in Nevada, was it a small town, more of like a city area?
Yeah, it was a city. It's definitely grown since I've left, but it's always been kind of known as a mini Vegas because of the casinos downtown, but the city's kind of changed and building more around the outdoors, and Lake Tahoe is so beautiful up there. So I grew up about 30 to 45 minutes away from that, and just not a big town, but not a small town either.
Top childhood memory, can you share anything with the listeners?
Childhood memory? I don't know. I just remember always, being like a bat boy for like my dad was a high school coach. So I always remember being like the bat boy, and that's kind of how I first got into, loving baseball, just being around the game all the time.
And could you share anything funny from your childhood? I don't know if you have any siblings. Was there any like sibling rivalry? Or
I have one sister, and we're still very close to this day. She was a tennis player, and I played tennis too, so we had some competition, and it was always friendly competition and stuff. But obviously, brother sister, it's a little different than like brother sister sister. Yeah, some good competitive memories with her.
I like how you mentioned the fact that your dad helped get you into the sport of baseball. So how did you begin pitching? Did you play a different position when you were younger and switch into pitching, or were you always just, this is my thing?
No, I was always, I still feel like I'm a position player at heart. I mean, on days when I'm not pitching, you'll see me shagging fly balls in the outfield every day. I enjoy doing that, but I was always an infielder growing up. Pitching was always kind of like my second thing. I was always pretty good at it, but I was really good defensively as a player too, so I always kind of put pitching second just because I wanted to be able to play every day, you know, like being in the lineup every day I thought was awesome. And then really when I got to like junior college was when I kind of plateaued as like a position player. My pitching kind of started hitting the next level, and that was kind of like, maybe I should stop hitting and focus on being a pitcher, and that's kind of when I really saw that difference in trying to get to the next level.
And I know you mentioned Tim Wakefield was one of the people that, or one of the athletes, should I say, that you sort of emulated and like to look up to. Is there anybody else? It doesn't have to necessarily be baseball, but I don't know if you watch football, basketball. You said your sister played tennis.
Yeah, I mean, it really was always baseball players that I looked up to, like Derek Jeter. I was a huge Yankee fan. Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, and I always loved, especially once I got to like a little bit older, like teenage and college years, was Roy Halladay. I just loved watching him pitch, and the fact that he always wanted to throw a complete game, and he threw almost felt like every different pitch in the book. Just the way he was able to like compete, and his work ethic was just fun to watch.
So you growing up as a little kid, watching players in the big leagues, you yourself were drafted in 2010 by the Tampa Bay Rays. So how exciting was that freaking phone call for you?
It was actually just a long process, because back then, I don't think kids understand, it was 50 rounds back then, and I was drafted in the 44th, so it was just a long 3 days. You know, you're a college senior, I was just like waiting to hear my name called. Really didn't have like an agent putting my name out there. You know, it was just kind of like waiting to, you know, back then you're looking at the draft tracker on like your laptop computer, and you're just sitting there all day. And I just remember like waiting, and nothing happened, and then like finally took like a little break and just like threw my laptop off to the side, just kind of like mad that I still hadn't gotten taken or gotten that opportunity. And then kind of in the background, I just remember hearing like my name called, and I was like, wait a second. Then I like ran over to the computer, and then I like saw my name. Yeah, and then I heard my roommate actually scream in his bedroom, going like, yeah. So it was like kind of cool. Then we came out, and he gave me a high five, and then got like a text from the scout a couple minutes later, and then just said like, I'll call you after the draft. And then it's an awesome moment.
Sounds very exciting, and I love asking professional athletes that question, especially if they went through the draft process, because I feel like everybody's situation is a little bit different. And then you had your MLB debut in 2021 with the Baltimore Orioles. What do you remember most about that day, if anything? I don't know if maybe you had like a blackout moment because you were so excited, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of nice because I got called up and I had one day where I didn't pitch, so I kind of tried to soak as much in as I could, and just trying to, you know, just trying to be where my feet were, you know, just trying to enjoy the moment, but also like be ready to pitch. Just a phone call I got from my manager, was coming back after an off day, and it was just kind of like one of those moments where I was like, I knew I was pitching well, so I knew an opportunity could come at some point. And then like I got a phone call from the manager, and the manager really never calls you unless it's good news or bad news. And I knew it wasn't going to be bad news at that time. So he called, and I just remember him saying like, you know, I really wish I could tell you in person, but the Orioles are buying your contract. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, it's been really great coaching you, an awesome moment. And hung up with him, and then just started making one phone call after the next, and throwing everything in my suitcase and packing for the flight to Baltimore. So it was just a crazy moment, but I'll never forget.
First day on the mound, were you nervous at all? Did you have like game day jitters, or were you just ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, again, like you're in the middle of the game, and you're trying to, again, like enjoy the moment. You don't know how long it's going to be there. Obviously, I was only there for one game, but you know, I was trying to take it all in, but you know, at the same time getting ready to pitch. And I just remember the moment where it really hit me was, you know, when you're pitching, you're kind of like blacked out on all the like surroundings. You're like you and the catcher just throwing, but for some reason, like I was able to, like, I heard the loudspeaker, and the PA announcer was like, now making his major league debut, Mickey Jannis, and that's when I kind of had to like step back off the mound from like warming up and just like take a deep breath and kind of like look around for a second and just just realized where you were, and then it's like, all right, now I got to get people out. So
Speaking of getting people out, what is one of your most proud moments? I'm sure you had many in the big leagues, whether that be a strikeout or a play, or maybe you guys had a big win.
yeah, I mean, it was probably just the first batter I faced was Jordan Alvarez, and letting it rip out there with knuckleballs, and was able to strike him out, I think, on the 4th pitch, and it was just pretty cool to have that first batter be a strikeout, and that's probably the biggest memory I have. And then again, facing that whole lineup of the Astros, you got, I think Correa was the next batter, and Kyle Tucker and Altuve and Gurriel, like you're just like loaded with guys, and you're just like one after another, but you're like, again, you're like in awe, but you're like
a little
focused,
intimidated, but focused.
So it was just cool to be in there. And then of course that team went on to play in the World Series back-to-back years, so it was pretty cool to watch them play at that level and know that I was on the mound with them. So.
And now you're here on the mound with the Highpoint Rockers. We fully enjoy having you here with us. What have you enjoyed most so far with the 2023 season? Obviously you guys have a great record. I feel like the team as a whole has been gelling very well.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a great group of guys here from all different areas. Some guys with big league experience, some guys with no affiliated experience, and we all mesh really well. We got a great coaching staff. Like, I think that's one of the things you love about independent ball. It's literally all about winning and just like going out there and competing with the same guys. Like, there's no like, oh, this guy got called up today, he's taking somebody's spot. It's really just our 26 or 28 guys, whatever we have. The coaching staff is awesome. You just love coming to the ballpark every day and being with the guys.
Do you have a top memory so far? We're like, I think 20-something games in, so hard to believe we're already like a quarter of the way done with the season, which is scary, but you have a top memory so far. And it could be anything. Something on the road, maybe you had like a fun dinner on an off day, it could be game related.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty awesome having my family out here for 2 weeks. Seeing them at the stadium and watching them, and then just winning games is fun. The walk-off win yesterday in Game 1 is always a good experience. Jumping up and down with the guys, you feel like you're 10 years old again in Little League. So like a walk-off win is always cool, and just like I said, just being around the guys every day is a joy.
And I know this is kind of a little bit off topic. I loved learning so much about you, and I'm sure my BosBabes fanatics and the Highpoint Rockers fans loved getting to know you too. But I needed to ask you about the Savannah Bananas a little bit. Have you ever been to a game? Would you ever play for them? I know they're kind of like a little bit different as far as baseball goes.
I've never been to a game. Probably might consider it after my total career playing is over with. I think it's just something that you do after your career that for entertainment. Might be something down the road, but I'm definitely not ready to play for them yet.
If you were to play for them, this will be the final question. A lot of the players on that team have like a cute little fun character. Do you know what type of a character you would be and why?
I really don't know. I'm not that type of outgoing personality. But obviously, being one of the last people to throw a knuckleball would be something fun that I could fool around with the knuckleball and pitching with that. So probably need some choreography to help me figure out that one. But yeah, I think it would obviously be something around the knuckleball, and I think that's. Obviously some people see that as kind of like a funny pitch. So being with the Savannah Bananas and doing that would be kind of funny to do.
Awesome. Well, Mickey, I fully enjoyed speaking with you today, and I'm sure the fans enjoyed getting to know you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me out here.